The healthcare sector doesn't make money when you are healthy, and that's its biggest problem. Most founders tend to avoid the healthcare sector. They think it's too complicated, it's too slow. I spoke with Vishal, who previously sold his company to Disney for about $100 million. He's now building in healthcare because he sees the landscape slightly differently. He told me healthcare is not broken because of regulations or doctors or hospitals. It's broken because the system does not make money when you're healthy. It makes money only when you get sick. That's not technically healthcare, that's actually sickness care. But that system is changing. We talked about where the money in healthcare is likely to be in the future, and how do you crack global healthcare market, and how founders can build trust in the space of healthcare. If you're building your next venture, this video might just change how you look at the sector of healthcare. Vishal, healthcare in India, you've built for healthcare in India. I think it's a tough category unless you're getting into medicine and medical. You and Ultra Human, you guys have built something very American for India. What change do you see? What's the thesis?
See, healthcare system is traditionally broken because it is not healthcare. It is sick care.
Yes.
The whole system was designed for people who are sick, who come in and then you fix them and you send them back, but they continue the same habits. And what we are seeing is a country with very high degree of diabetes, cholesterol, hypertension, all non-communicable lifestyle-related diseases. I think one very big change has happened in the last 5 years is the advent of wearables, and now combining wearable data with AI and with lifestyle data. So essentially, healthcare is going to go from a probability based model to a predictive model. So the way to think about it is insurance companies who were largely selling insurance premiums and policies used to look at your data and price a policy.
Yeah.
But now, just looking at your health report, they can figure out that what is going to happen to this person. So you know already that, hey, there is a very, very high risk of a very big heart attack or any other event to happen. So now with that information, we believe the entire healthcare system will move towards a proactive system because of this possibility which is now getting unlocked. Just think about it. There is a highway where cars are crashing. You don't fix that by having more garages and mechanics. You fix that by making people drive properly, wearing seat belts, and following discipline of driving.
So the Indian consumer wouldn't spend unless it's painful. They're not interested in being healthy. Am I wrong on this thesis? Because again, price conscious customer doesn't want
You
to
have to think about it, right? I mean, today, Patanjali is India's biggest FMCG company.
Yeah.
What are they selling? They are selling you the promise of good health with Ayurveda
Supplements.
So already somewhere, every time when you are having cold and you have that little kada or you have any kind of juice or avla, it is already been there in our structures, but somehow it was not getting mainstream because the healthcare and insurance industry does not understand the outcomes of what is happening through traditional methods. You know what is the fastest growing exercise in the US today? It's called NSDR.
What is that?
Non-sleep deep rest. You know what is non-sleep deep rest? It's yoga nidra.
Oh.
So one of the biggest scientists, and Andrew Huberman, talks about NSDR. So suddenly, because there are clinical studies of NSDR, people are doing NSDR, but yoga nidra, which has been there traditionally. Again, this is not a Ayurveda versus medicine discussion. What I really see is that just the way how UPI unlocked people to use the banking system who never were banked. You required a disruption like UPI.
And that's data.
Similarly, and that is essentially data. Similarly, now with the advent of wearables becoming ubiquitous, I think eventually every person will be having a wearable. By the way, my glasses are already the connected glasses. Every watch will be connected.
Are they recording?
Not yet, but we can. But the point is that I believe that health data will become ubiquitous. If you are a human, you will have a device on you which will give you data. Now, the business is going to be how do you use this data to prevent you from not getting sick.
Right. So, talking about the business, it's very crucial. Who do you take this offering to first? Where do you start? Is India that market? If India is that market, are you going to be able to get into the grassroots fast, or you're going to go abroad?
So the market in India is actually very large. Just to give you an example,
Mhm.
the problem is not the market, the problem is the conflict of interest. So just to think about it, we are in Mumbai. BMC spends $1 billion, 8,000 crores on the health of people in Mumbai.
Mhm.
But a lot of that is going to sick care. And those models are incentivized to make sure that you keep getting medicines and you keep getting tests because they make money by doing that. Versus an alternate model where we go to a BMC or we go to a government or we go to an insurance company that, hey, we will identify people who are at risk and we will do an intervention and make sure that they get demedicated, for example.
Okay.
So that's a model. So you need to go to people who are payers. So what we have seen is
Could be
not
government,
just
could be
in
business.
India, it could be whoever pays for healthcare.
Right.
It's either an insurance company, a government, an employer, or a family. They care about prevention versus the system, the for-profit healthcare system. You know, while I'm sure they want people to be healthy, but their business finally is about how many surgeries and how many beds and how many medicines you have sold. So I think it is very important to understand who your customer is and align yourself to them.
Got it. Now, this video is actually going to a 20-ish-year-old who's also looking to start up. Where you can help is in healthcare. Now, you said you're also in Middle East. Where are you more focused? Going deeper into India or going abroad? If you had to pick one, where are you more focused right now?
So, see, when you're developing a product, India is a good market because you can rapidly deploy.
Many bodies.
You can. Let's say that it's a good place to have a sandbox environment for creating a product.
Fetch a lot of data.
Fet-
Iterate.
build. India is where you will have huge numbers, but the revenues actually flow in from the West. And that is the model of if you look at any technology company, even though Facebook for Meta, India is the biggest user base, but revenue is not the biggest. But that does not mean that they are not using India.
Right.
Similarly, I do believe that India will have the market, but from a pricing perspective, you will get higher ARPU internationally. But you clearly have to first think of one place and solve that problem. And the good thing about health is the problem is global, right? I mean, if you have diabetes here, it will be the same diabetic there. Maybe some changes here and there.
International, selling internationally. I'm sure you have a thesis, you have a playbook, how you're going to do it or how you're doing it. If a 20-year-old was to do it, what are some of the things to do and some of the things not to do that you probably failed and learned?
See, one of the things
consumer selling internationally.
It's all about having the credibility.
Okay.
So in the health, you need to have some credible partnerships in place. The credibility will come from your association with a big pharma company, a big hospital, or a big association. For example, we partnered with Fit India.
Okay.
So that gives you the credibility. The second thing, which is also becoming more and more important, is data. Because a lot of people say they can do things, but if you don't have the data, it means nothing. So in the healthcare world specifically, outcomes data becomes very important. So just talking about I can do this and I can do that, but if you don't have data around it, that doesn't work. And finally, you have to understand that healthcare is becoming now outcomes driven worldwide.
Data means delivering on your promise. Like if
No. So for example, if you need to be able to say that, hey, I already have proven my model on 1,000 people. I was able to get 1,000 diabetics. I was able to get them to become non-diabetic or reduce.
Yeah.
So you need a lot of data of some kind when you are going there, which shows the evidence of what you are doing.
So again, in the sense, you should be able to provably show outcomes with data.
And you need to have credible partner. You need to have referenceable partner.
Trust, whatever builds trust. It's a trust game. Got it. Anything else tactical about going from India to US or anywhere else with a consumer product?
So healthcare, the sales cycle are much longer.
Okay.
Because the minute you talk about healthcare, you are talking of multiple regulations, compliances. There is HIPAA, there is GDPR, and all of that, right?
Right.
So you can look at it as an entry barrier or also as a moat. So
Okay.
I'll
I have it, and other people will not be able to get it.
So
So
I would say that it's always better to invest ahead in compliance and making sure you're compliant,
already.
because that becomes an entry point advantage. Because you may have everything, but you are not compliant, and some of these compliances itself can take months. So the minute you look at insurance, healthcare, each country, each system has its own set of compliances, and it's not rocket science, but it does take time. So it's always better to invest ahead if you're looking at healthcare as a vertical,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure you have all the right compliances.
Oh, got it. Awesome. This was lovely. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.